Happy Wednesday. I was sitting here jamming away to the new song, the countdown music is kind of pretty now. It's different. They've changed a bunch of stuff on StreamYard recently. So how is everybody? Hopefully everybody can hear me okay and see me. I have to turn kind of to the side to start because I've got a fan above my head now, so I don't want you to have to look at that fan. It makes everybody kind of dizzy. Hi, everybody. Got people from all over the place. That's so cool that people from all over come in. So, and we're gonna have some fun with the scan and cut tonight. Scan and cut. Oh yeah, Diane, you fell. My friend Diane fell last week. So I'm glad that you're doing a little better, but I bet you are stiff and sore. I saw that on Facebook. So how's everybody doing tonight? I've had kind of a weird couple weeks. I had a raccoon in my roof with babies, of all things. So I had to get rid of my roommate and get her. She evicted herself though. So, but I still had to pay like the pest people to come in and clear up the hole and cover up the hole and all that. So anyway, I had a really weird week last week with the coon. And it's not the first time I've had raccoon problems in my house. So I'm not real fond of raccoons. So I apologize if anybody loves raccoons. I'm not super fond of them. They're very destructive. So I've had a very strange week. Okay, so we're going to have put up a cage. I didn't need to capture it because she actually got out, Diane. And then I didn't have to catch her because she was out and she moved her babies. So she was gone and I didn't have to catch her because it was cheaper that we didn't have to catch her, which was a good thing, right? So anyway, it was kind of a weird week this last week. So anyway, we're going to have some fun with our scan and cut tonight. And I've done a class similar to this, several years ago on Shields Live that we talked about just the scanning functions and what they're used for. So there's several scanning functions. Yeah, no kidding. I'm lucky she left. The scanning functions are cool because they are basically the same all the way back to the original scan and cut. So if you have an older one, it's very much the same. They've changed just a little bit, but pretty much the scanning functions are the same. So you can do something called direct scan. And direct scan means that you're going to scan the item on the mat and cut it out from that piece of paper or that piece of fabric or whatever you're doing. And then the other one is the scan to cut data. So you're going to take a scan of something and make it into a cut file to cut out of something else. So we're going to do that. And then did you know that your scan and cut is a large format scanner? So like if you have big pictures or big patterns or something you need to scan, that's 12 inches wide and up to 24 inches. Not all, most of the machines up to 24 inches long. You can scan large items on it too. And I'll just show you how to scan a photograph on it. And that's really cool too. So, I mean, it's a pretty virtual machine and I like to put, versatile machine. I can't talk tonight. So I use it a lot for scanning because if I have something that's too big for my regular printer scanner, it fits in the scan and cut. So it's pretty awesome. Okay, so we're going to start first. Let me get the banner turned off here. Hi, everybody. Everybody's saying hi to everybody. Hi, Marcia. Got some of my local students here. Hi, Jackie. Second, let me turn off the banner here. Okay. So remember, if you want to get entered to win a drawing, all you need to do is make a comment. So tonight's drawing will be for this really cute little USB pouch. Okay. So we made this in a class, a while ago, not too long ago, a couple months ago. And it has a little zipper pouch in it. And then there's little places down here where you can put your USB ports. Okay. So this is for the people in the US. I'm sorry, I've got a couple Canadians here tonight. I'm sorry, I can't ship to Canada. but this is going to be the prize tonight. So make a comment to get entered to win. Okay. So that's going to be our prize. And I've got a special surprise for you at the end. Was it made in the hoop? Yes, Cindy, it was. This is an in the hoop, and this is a free design. And I did a video on it also on my YouTube channel. So if you go to my YouTube channel, it's the USB, see what I call it, USB, in the hoop USB case, I think is what I called it. So this is a free design, so you can download this. It's in the description of that video. There's a link to this free design, so you can do this. And I just put Mickey Mouse on it because I used something in my sewing machine. So you can put anything on it you want. Okay. So yeah, so tonight I'm going to get to use my new scan and cut, and we're going to do some scanning. And I found out a few things about the new machine that I really like. There's some things that I think it does better than the older machines did. I mean, they've developed it, so I assume it might do something different. So, oh, somebody got a Luminaire. That's awesome. Yeah, I have a Luminaire and an Avenir. So my Avenir's at the store and on my Luminaire's here. So, okay. So we are going to do some scanning tonight. So we know what the prize is. This is the prize. So make sure you make your comments. And if you give me a second, I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera and the microphone, and then you'll be able to see my scan and cut over here. So this is my SDX 325, the new one that I just got. But what I'm going to show you will probably work on almost all the way back to the original scan and cuts. So, I mean, the scanning functions haven't changed a whole lot since they first came out. So, okay, just a second here. So excited about finally. Oh, okay. So I know the projector is awesome. Okay, so let me change the camera. Oh, I'm going to change the microphone first. So hopefully you can hear me. I'm a little ways from the mic. I'll switch in my position here in a second. Okay, so you should be able to see my scan and cut. So just a second, I'm going to get a little closer. Can you hear me okay? The 325 is what you have. Well, a lot of people have the 325s or the 330s. So hopefully you can hear me okay. I am going to be standing up for part of this. So I'm very close to the microphone, so it should be okay. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about direct cut. And I just picked a couple of projects that I like to do with direct cut. Yes, this will work on the CM650, Teresa. Yes, it will. So, yes. So for those of you with the older machines, the scanning stuff has not changed a whole lot. So you will be able to do all of this stuff all the way back, I think, to the 550, because the 550 had these scanning functions too. That was the original one. I had that. And it was really a great machine too. So yeah, so if you have the older ones, it'll work just fine. All right, so I picked a couple of projects, just simple things to do that I normally do with these functions. Okay, so the first one we're going to do is we're going to cut out. So like, I like to cut out stickers. And I can create stickers. Oh, sorry, my phone's going to bang here. I can cut out stickers. Okay, these are stickers. Yeah, you'll love it. You'll love the scan and cut. If you don't have a scan and cut, you'll love it. So this is a couple of the stickers that I made. And I made these actually years ago when the scan and cut first came out. They had a sticker maker program that you could buy, and I don't know if you can get it anymore. I think they've been discontinued, but you might find it somewhere. But I made this in that. Isn't that cute with the little sewing machine? I made this in that old sticker program just to make some stickers so you could see how I was going to cut these out. Okay, all right, so this is we're going to make some stickers. I printed these on some of these, let me see. So these are printed on printable vinyl. The printable vinyl, I think it was Cricut printable vinyl. So that's one thing you can do like stickers on. So this is actually like vinyl instead of sticker paper. And then these are printable stickers. Okay, so these were also Cricut, I think. This is printable stickers. Now, the one thing I have found, let me get this a little closer to me so I don't touch anything here. The one thing I have found is that I like to do like maybe only a few things at once. So you can do a whole page, but I found that sometimes when I do like a whole page of something that I'm going to scan, like 6 or 8 items, one of them won't scan correctly. And so I generally only do just a couple of items at a time, because I find that it works better and everything cuts better and it scans better. I think it keeps it from getting quite so confused. So I just did here. We'll use this one. This is one of the sticker. Second, let me move my mouse here because my mouse is in the way. A precarious situation there. There we go. But we'll do this little sticker here, and we're going to use direct cut. So what the first thing we're going to do, so I'm going to put this sticker down on my mat. So I'm going to kind of turn this a little bit so you can see. I'm going to put this down on my mat, and it can be anywhere on the mat. Okay. Find my brayer. My mat's not super duper sticky. And I'm trying to catch if I miss, what paper do you use to make the stickers? Jackie, I used either, this is the printable sticker paper from Cricut, and this was printable vinyl from Cricut. So that's what I use for these. That's what I happen to have. So normally printable sticker paper is what I use. And then we're going to do something called a kiss cut. So in other words, that means that we're going to cut, if I can get this turned just a little bit more, we're going to cut around this thing, but we're not going to cut through the entire piece of paper. We're just going to cut through the sticker layer because we're going to use half cut. Because that's one of the things I found that the scan and cut, the newer scan and cuts does way better, I think, than the older ones, is the half cut. And then we're going to cut this out like on a piece, like a square piece. And then all you'll have then is the sticker. So then you can remove that outside part. And then this is just the sticker, see? Right here. So this is just the paper underneath. And here's the sticker that I can pull off. I'm having a little trouble getting it started, but this is the vinyl. The vinyl's a little harder. So there's the sticker then. Okay. So this is called a kiss cut. So we're actually going to not cut through the paper. We're just going to cut through the sticker part and then pull off the outside edge. Okay. So let me turn this again. I'm going to make sure I can see what I'm doing. So let's turn this a little bit closer to the screen. I'm trying a new arrangement here for the camera so that you can see the screen a little bit closer. Okay. So I'm going to turn this a little bit more. Okay. So I'm going to try, this is going to be called direct cut. Okay. And we're going to be making stickers. So I'm going to use my scan button. This is on the home screen. Again, the scan button. And then we're going to use direct cut. I've already placed on my mat, and this is a cutting mat, okay? And I placed that sticker on the cutting mat already. And it's a cutting mat, not a scanning mat, okay? So here's I got my sticker down here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hit scan. I'm going to scan the machine. So we're not scanning to, the second button is scanning to the software. So we're not going to do that. We're going to scan in the machine here. Okay. Now, this sticker has color, and there's a couple options of how you can choose your mode. There's a black and white mode. And if you hit the little wrench, you can also go into color mode. Now this sticker has color on it. So I am going to choose color for this particular one and click OK, because then it knows it needs to look for something besides just black and white. Okay. Second here, I'm going to move my mat up a little bit. Then I'm going to hit start. And what it's going to do first, of course, and start one more time, and it's going to scan the sticker. So we'll let it scan here. It's going to kind of hit my cabinet in the back, but it'll be okay. Okay. So here is then, it says frame the image. So what we're going to do is we're going to crop. We're going to take these little arrows, and we're going to crop around the area we want. Now, if I had this whole thing filled with the stickers, like I did a whole piece of paper, you could just do the whole piece of paper. But that's when I notice that I sometimes I get one that just doesn't scan quite right. So I usually do one or two or maybe three at a time. And then I usually get along pretty well. Okay. So I've got it cropped right up to around my sticker here. All right. So again, this is direct cut, and we're going to cut these stickers. All right. So I'm going to click OK. I think I'm happy with that. And it's going to think about it for a minute here. All right. So now when we get to this screen, there's a couple of things that we can change. Like if you should, I don't know how well you can see it, but there's a black line around my sticker. So it found the edges of the sticker. Okay. If you don't think it's quite traced very well, you can use this first button to help you, like maybe reduce a color or add a color to help you get a better scan. So that's the first button. Ignore object size. What that means is sometimes if your mat is really messy, like mine's old and it's kind of messy, you might get a bunch of little goobers all over your mat. And if you tell it to ignore some of that bigger stuff, it'll just concentrate on the middle project or the middle option here. And I don't use this very often because normally it's okay. So I don't use these two options very often. However, I do use this one. This one down here, this little kind of squiggle, is a smoothing area. And I like my cuts to not be angular looking. So I generally move the smoothing from low to medium because that seems to smooth out around whatever I'm trying to cut out. Okay. And I'm going to click preview. So we can see, looks pretty good. It looks pretty smooth. If you need to see it bigger, we can click we can click the zoom, and we can go in and we can look at it a little bit better. So let's look at this bigger picture, and I think you might be able to see a little better, and you can kind of see if it looks pretty nice and it looks smooth. So I think we're good. And I'm going to click OK one more time and one more time because we've got it smooth. Now, this is where, oh, okay. I thought I needed to answer a question, but I don't think so. So this is where we can tell the line where we want it to cut. So there are, this little button here allows me to move the distance of the line away from or into the area of the sticker. So if you want like a white line around your sticker, you would add a plus to it, and it would leave a little white edge all the way around the outside of the sticker. So we'll be doing that in the next direct cut because we're going to cut out some stamps. Okay. But in this case, 0 is going to cut right on it, like right on the line. But I found that these stickers seem to cut better if I did a negative. So I'm just going to press this one time to negative 0.01, because then it's going to move in a little bit, and it's not going to leave any white around the black line. So it depends on what you're cutting. You may have to cut something out to decide how you want it to look. When I cut out stamps, I want a white line around the outside edge, but with the stickers, I really don't. Okay. So I'm going to use a negative. So I hit the negative sign here, and then I'm going to click OK. All right. Now, the shape is this button. So this is the outline distance, and this is the shape. Now, the shape that it defaults to is going to be the shape of the design that it's scanned. So in this case, directly around my little sewing machine. If I wanted it to be a different shape, like, you know, a circle or a square or whatever, there's other shapes in here. Okay. So I like to use this one for the stickers, the one that just goes around the stickers. Gwen, no, I don't have any printed instructions for this. So you'll have to watch the video, and you can stop and start me when you're trying it out. I just don't have anything. I just have some jotted notes for myself so I know where I'm going. Okay. So there is, I'm going to use the around the design type of shape, and we'll click OK there. All right, let's see. So now I'm going to hit OK. If you need to edit anything, like if you have like a little, oh, let's say there's a little black mark over here or over here. If you hit edit here, see, then I could select that little goober or whatever that's there, and I can hit the trash can and I can get rid of it. All right, so we don't need to do that this time. I think everything looks good. Okay, so now we're going to hit OK one more time, and it's going to process. So now it's ready to cut. So again, this is direct cut. I've got the sticker on the mat. Don't you move the sticker. We're going to cut it right where it's at. So I'm going to tell it to please select, and I want it to cut. Now remember, I told you we're going to do a kiss cut. So what that means is we're going to cut through the paper, the sticker paper on the top, but not through the paper on the back. So we can remove that. So I'm going to tell it that I want the half cut turned on. So I'm going to hit the little wrench, and I'm going to tell it, I'm going to go down an arrow, and I'm going to turn on my half cut, which is right here. That was on the second paper. The picture came from an old program I had that was a brother thing. It's a printable sticker kit. So if you can still find it, they aren't available anymore, but you might be able to still find it somewhere. Okay. So I'm going to turn on my half cut, and I think I'm ready for that. So I've got that turned on. I'm going to leave it on auto. And this is one thing that I've been super happy with the new machine. I've taught in the past the SDX, the 220, the 230D that I had with a different blade to cut the vinyls with the half cut. I had a little trouble with half cut. So I found that the newer machines have I have way better luck with the half cut. Okay. So I've got it on. Here's the half cut. It says on, and I'm ready to cut. So I'm just going to hit start. And then I'm going to show you a little trick. I'll pull this back so you can see it cut. So it's doing the half cut. I've just got the standard blade in. It's just the black auto blade. Okay. And I'm going to click OK. So I'm finished cutting at this point. Now, is your blade in? Yes, my blade is in. This was the blade I was using. This is the standard black auto blade. Okay. All right. So now this is my little trick that I do. So we're going to leave this on. We're not going to take it off yet. We're going to hit return, which is the little arrow up here. So let me go back to the machine. Return. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I want to cut like a square out around my sticker so that it's a nice, beautiful sticker shape. So like this one, see how I have the rectangle around it? And it looks like a sticker, right? So we can do that. And we're going to go to the shapes again. Remember how we did the distance here? Okay. We're going to go to the shape. And this time I want the shape to be a rectangle. And it's going to make a rectangle around my blade. For this case, the blade is my black auto blade. You could also use the vinyl auto blade if you want. This is not that detailed, so the black one's fine. I just had that one in the machine. So that's that one. Either one is fine. So there is the rectangle. Let me see if I can get this a little bit more centered for you. Okay. So here's our little rectangle. But this time, I want the distance to be bigger. So I wanted to make like a nice rectangle around. So I'm going to change my distance. And I think I'm going to go up a couple of bumps. So let's go to, I think I did 0.12 inches. So that made just a nice little rectangle around my sewing machine. So we're going to click OK. And again, I didn't move anything. I just reversed back to the screens that we were just on a few minutes ago. And then I'm going to click OK one more time. I'm going to please select and I'm going to cut. But this time I want it to cut through the whole thing. So I'm going to turn off this half cut. So I'm going to click my little wrench. I'm going to turn off the half cut. It's on the second page. So turn it off. Click OK. And now it's just going to cut a really nice rectangle around our sticker. So we're going to click Start. So now it's going to cut that. Turn my page so I know where I'm at here. So yeah, so the blade, you could either use the standard auto blade, which is the black one, or if you want to, you could use the vinyl auto blade if you have it, the light blue one. Either one would work. Okay. So Debbie, you would do multiples the same way, except when you cropped, you would not crop it to just one. You would leave all of them. I do find that if I do less at a time, like I did half the sheet and then another half of sheet, they do better because sometimes I'll get one or two that won't quite scan correctly if I have too many. So I found that, less is more kind of deal. Okay. So I often do not do more than a couple, 3 at a time. Okay. Because I didn't have too much sticker paper, so I had to kind of cut them apart so I could do this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this off. See, look, it cut through the sticker paper. Put this down for a second. And then we can pull our sticker off. Let me get my little spatula up here. Second here. Get it started. There we go. Okay. So there's our beautiful, nice rectangular sticker. But then what you can do, since it's a kiss cut, I can take off that outer part of the paper. For the blade, when I do like vinyl or sticker paper, I usually have my blade, for those of you who don't have the auto blades, it's usually set at about 2 to 2.5 for the sticker paper. You might have to do a test cut. And then to cut through the whole thing, probably around 4. It's about the same as cardstock with your standard blade. Okay, so there is our sticker. So see, I kiss cut it. It's still got the nice piece of paper on here that I can leave my sticker on. And then I can give people the sticker and they can just pull the sticker. See? So isn't that cool? So that's how you would kiss cut those stickers. I really enjoy doing these. These are fun. Direct cut's really fun on this machine. So, okay. You love yours? Oh, that's good. Everybody says they love their machines. So yes, so if you need to cut this with a standard, with the older machines, probably 2.5 to cut the kiss cut part, and then on the blade, and then maybe 4 to cut through the whole thing, I think. That's about what I would say. All right. So there is a sticker, and we did the kiss cut on that, and I think that turned out really cool. So aren't those cute? Whoever wins the prize tonight will also get a sticker. I have several of those. Aren't those cute? They'll get the other sticker. I have other stickers for Sew Along with Jan, but I thought maybe you would also like one of these. I have some of these. So everybody gets one of these, and then this is the new one that I made. So I thought that was cute. Okay, so there's some stickers. So that's one of the ways to use your direct cut feature. Now, the other way that I use direct cut quite often, give me a second, I'm going to get this out of my way, is I stamp and make cards. Okay? And I like to stamp and make cards. And not all stamps
come with dies. So like this stamp that I have here, this was some stamps. I'll show you the stamps here. And here's some items that I cut out from those stamps. Give me a second. This is a set of stamps. And this is what I stamped these with. Okay. So here's the little butterfly down here and the little florals. Okay. So this is another way that I mean, I know some of you make cards too, just like I do. And there's a lot of stamps that come without dies. So dies are metal things. I have some of those to show you as well. Let me grab those. But this is the stamp set that I used. And this stamp set does not have dies. Okay. But some stamps do have dies. Like this set of stamps. These are some sentiments that I have. And I've got some in here. Let me pull these out so you can see. So here's some that I cut out with the dies. These were little dies that come with the stamp set. And they make these little sentiments. Now, the one thing I like about dies, I use both my scan and cut and dies. The thing I like about dies, let me get the die out so you can see it. So this is what I'm talking about. These are metal dies. And they don't fit through the fabric cutting machines. You have to have special, some special shims and stuff to run these dies. But most of the cutting machines, other than the AccuQuilt, will run either fabric dies or paper cutting dies. So I have the same machine, and I can run my sewing dies, my fabric dies through, as well as these dies. Okay, so that's what's neat is you don't have to buy extra machines. You probably already have one. And how do I do? Oh, this stamps, Cindy, were stamped with dye ink. Dye ink is usually what I use. Okay, and I use I have Memento dye inks is what I have. So anyway, these little dies are cool because the one thing they do. Where'd my little? Oh, here they are. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but the one thing I like about dies is they leave a very slight little rounded edge on the die cuts. And the scan cut is flat and blunt. Okay, so that's one thing I've always loved about dies. So I do both. But again, I can't get dies for these, so I have to cut them out sometimes. I'd like to put the butterfly on a card. I might color it. I just stamped it in black. Okay. Machine like the Ellison cutters. Yes, Krissa. Yep. Like the Sizzix machines. Yep. And I like that little beveled edge. Yes. Cindy says the beveled edge. And I do. And I really like that because it makes it look very finished. The scan and cut does not do that. However, there are times when I need to cut out my stamps with my scan and cut. So let me get this out of my way here so I won't dump all the dies on the floor. Okay. What die cut machine? I actually own a couple. I have Gina K's Intracut, and I also have the Gemini Junior, which is an electric machine. Those are the ones that you can use for dye. The Gemini you cannot use for fabric dyes, but you can on Gina's machine because it's made so you can use those old Sizzix dyes, the thick ones, you know. So, okay, so we're going to cut out this butterfly so I can show you how this works. And if you have a Sizzix machine, that'd be perfect. I used my Sizzix machine for a really long time. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put this on my mat. Again, we're using direct cut. So we want to just put it on a cutting mat because we're going to cut right out of this. Okay. And if you have like a Sizzix machine that you use for fabric dyes, you may need some shims and some extra little like platforms to run these little skinny dyes through because they're different. They're skinnier, you know, than the other ones are. So, and it depends on the machine what you need to have to do that. Okay, every machine's a little different. All right, so we're going to hit the home button here, and we're going to go back to where we were. Let me get my instructions so I don't forget. And as per normal, the guy next door is mowing the lawn. So he starts up the mower as soon as I start class. Okay. So And like I said, some stamps come with dies, a lot don't. So I stamped all of these images down here on this paper, and none of these have dies with them. So, but I want to cut them out so I could put them on a card individually. Okay. So what we're going to do, it's very similar to the last. I've got my standard blade again. I'm just going to leave my standard blade in, and I'm going to use I've got my standard mat. And we're going to go back to scan. We're going to scan, or I'm sorry, direct cut, because we're going to be cutting out of this piece of paper. Okay. We're going to do the machine, select a device to convert the scanned image to. It's going to be the machine. And this time, though, we're basically black and white. No, it's not dark here yet, Cindy. It's only about 7:30 here. So you're an hour ahead of us. So it's only about 7:30 here. So he's out there mowing. Yeah, as soon as I started up. So, so I had chosen color mode, for the sticker. I'm going to choose, I hit the little wrench, and I'm going to choose black and white mode because, my stickers or my stamps are black and white. Okay. I know, isn't it funny? He always picks that day. And I mean, they only mow about every 2-3 weeks. And of course, it just happens to be the day I have to teach, and they're like right outside the window. So here's the black and white. Okay. And I'm going to hit start. So it's going to scan my piece of paper that's down here. Have mowing neighbors. Yeah. So hit start again. You have to hit start twice. Yes, Cindy says most live streamers have internet gremlins. You have mowing neighbors. Yep. And the thing is, they don't really take care of their house. So I think it's really funny. Okay. So I got it scanned. And again, we're going to do the same thing. So here's the scan. Okay. I'm going to hit OK. And this time I decided I'm just going to, let's just cut out the butterfly, because we could do all three, but let's just do the butterfly tonight for speed. So we're going to cut the butterfly out. So I'm going to scan, I'm just going to crop right up to the butterfly. Okay. Yeah, you probably can't hear him. He's far enough away, but he's rather distracting to me because he's right outside my window. Okay. This button here, since we're in black and white mode, we can also adjust this. Like if you don't think you're getting a good enough trace, or if you think it looks too dark, you can adjust your brightness here. I think it's okay. Again, that ignore object. Did you notice that all around here, there was a lot of junk because my mat's really old and junky. So I might have needed to use the ignore so that it would not pick up some of this noise around the outside edge. But I think we're okay because I think it cropped out. All right. Then I also like that smoothing. Now, especially when I'm doing stamps, I usually need to use this. And what I need to do is go to smoothing and go up to medium, because it smooths it out so that it's not so angular. Most dies that stampers buy to cut out their stamps they're not angular. They're quite smooth around the outside edges, and I want that to look like that. Okay. Oh, so Cindy, are you on Central? Are you on Central Time, or are you on Eastern Time? Okay, so we got it on middle, and I'm going to preview it. So let's see how it looks here. Looks pretty good. Again, I did not trace the top two pieces. I just traced the one down here, and I used middle, and it looks pretty good. If you're not sure, we can bring it bigger and look at it a little closer, even all the way up to 400%. I just hit the little spyglass. Okay, so that looks pretty good. It looks like it traced it pretty well. So I think I'm happy with that. All right, so let's sort of hit OK. And then I'm going to hit OK again. So now we're back to that same, isn't this too cool? I mean, it's so cool. Like if you make cards, you can also use your scan and cut to do this. I mean, like I don't have dies for everything. So if I have something I want to cut out, I can just get my scan and cut out and cut it out. It's awesome. All right, because you know dies cost money too, and I have my scan and cut. I like the dies, and I do buy dies, but I use them both. All right, so here's our little butterfly. Now this one, I do want to make a little white line around. Did you notice that my little words had like a little white edge? Let me grab that again. See how there was a little white edge around those? So when I cut these out, I usually like there to be a little white edge around the black. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to use, let's go up maybe a bump. I think that'll be enough. That'll just make a little small white edge around the outside edge. So I think that should be good. So we'll hit OK. And then I want the shape again to be around the design. So that's what is default. If I wanted it to be like a circle or whatever, I could change it. But we're going to use the default, which is right around the butterfly. And let's see. If you need to edit, edit's right here. If you've got a bunch of junk or something, you need to get rid of pieces, you can hit the select button and get rid of little bits and pieces if you need to. But I think we're okay with our little butterfly here. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to click please select, and we're going to cut. Okay. Yes, you can fussy cut on, yes, Cindy, that was a good idea. Yes, fussy cutting on cardstock, because sometimes cardstock has really pretty, pretty figures on it, and then you can cut around those things. Yes, and I've even done it with fabric, with direct cut. I've even cut around pieces of fabric that were like larger items and made little appliques of them. All right, so there's our little butterfly. We're good. Again, I didn't move this. It's still right on there. I do not want the half cut on, and it is off right now, so we're good with that. And then I'm going to hit start. Let's cut it out. This is going to be just cardstock. It's just going to cut through the whole thing. Isn't that cool? I know, I love this machine. And I have to say, the 300 series machines I'm very pleased with the way they scan, because I've noticed a difference in the way they scan than from the 200s. The older machines to these new ones, the 200 and 300 series, didn't scan as well as these do. So it is pretty remarkable. All right, so let's see how we did here. Let's see. So we're going to finish cutting, and let's see how we did with our little butterfly. So I'm just going to pull this off. See if you can see me doing this. You make it look so easy. Well, I've had a lot of practice. I've had this machine since it came out. This machine came out, oh gosh, trying to remember how long ago. It's been quite a while ago. The original machine was the 550, the dealer machine. I've always had a dealer machine. But look at there. See, it's got a little white rim around it, and it looks beautiful. So see, now I could color that and put it on a card as an embellishment on a card. So isn't that neat? I really like doing stickers this way, and I also like doing the stamps. So that's some things you can use direct cut for. You could also use it for like paper, cutting out like, particular things on paper, or I've even done it with fabric. Like I put a piece of fabric on here. It had a little fox on it. Pretty good sized fox on it, and I scanned around it and I cut it out and made it an applique patch. So this works also with fabrics. Okay, so that is direct cut. So what direct cut again is, you're cutting the paper you're putting on the mat. So I've got a regular mat here. This is my standard mat. You put it on the mat, you scan it, and cut it directly from that piece of paper. Okay. So that is what direct cut is. So what do you think of direct cut? Is everybody going to give this a whirl and try it? I also like to make like pictures. I'll just print pictures up like Mickey Mouse or something, and then I'll cut around those, and that's really cool. All right, so let me get rid of some of this stuff so I can move to the next little piece here. If I take just a second and put it back in my folder, I won't lose everything. Okay. All right, let's get this out of the way. So that is the second thing. So we did 2 projects with direct cut. Oh, on the fabric, I wanted to show that. That was what I was going to show tonight, Cindy, instead of the stickers. But I didn't have any more of that fabric with a bigger image. They have to be pretty distinct. You know, if it's real small and kind of in amongst the stuff, it's hard. But I had a piece of fabric that had a pretty good sized fox. He was about this long. I mean, he must have been about 2 or 3 inches tall, and it really worked well. So yes, I will. I'll do that some night. We'll make an applique patch or something. Okay. All right. So now we're going to move on to the other. So let's go back to our main screen here. Get rid of my paper clip. And we're going to go on to scan again. Whoops, sorry, I need to move up. Am I correct in understanding that the machine will not do a direct cut? I don't think it will, because the bugs on the direct cut on the scanning mat will not. It'll say it's not a cutting mat. I'm pretty sure it'll stop you. So I am going to use my scanning mat now. So we're gonna eject this mat. And I'm going to use a scanning mat here for a couple things, okay? What blades do I use with the fabrics? Gwen, we'll get to that in just a minute, okay? We're going to cut some fabric in right now, actually, and I'll show you, okay? All right. So we are going to cut. We're going to do a little applique. Now, some of you may recognize this because this was a little class that we did a while back, that we cut out this little star applique, okay, out of a piece of fabric. And then we made this cute little design, and I gave everybody this design, this little future superstar design, okay? So there's a couple ways we did this. We did this as a scan and cut class and cut this out, making the cut file directly in the sewing machine, which is one way to do it. And you can also do it right in the scan and cut, which is one way we did it. But the other way you can do that, reading it right from the PES file, the stitch file, okay? But tonight we're going to take this little design, because I had this printed out for this little star, see? I'm going to scan this in, and we're going to do it out with this piece of paper instead. Let me get my scanning mat here. Now, you don't have to use a scanning mat. You can just use a regular mat and stick it down. I often use a scanning mat. I'm going to load this. I often use a scanning mat when I'm working with like pattern pieces, so I don't accidentally stick something to a good pattern piece to a mat and then not have it come up, because I've had that happen. So what I'm going to do is just put this in my scanning mat. Let me turn this a little bit so you can see. So I'm just putting it in the scanning mat, okay, like that, and it's going to scan this little star. But this is going to be scanned to cut data. So that means that we're going to scan this, but we're not going to cut it out of this piece of paper. We're going to cut it out of a piece of fabric, okay? So I'm going to go back up here to scan. Is this a little closer so everybody can see the screen better? The screen on the scan and cut? Where did I put my stick? I lose a lot of stuff when I do this. Oh, here it is. It rolled under here. Okay. So we're going to hit scan, but this time we want to scan to cut data, because we're going to make a design to cut out, but we're going to cut it out of something else. So I'm just going to hit scan to cut data. And in this case, this is black and white. So I'm just going to use black and white. That's what the mode I'm in right now. So I'm going to use black and white mode and hit start. And hit start one more time. So we're getting to the fabric blade stuff and what you use for fabric. So this is what we'll talk about here. And we're going to cut fabric twice, actually. Star, yeah, I do a live every other Wednesday night, the first and third Wednesday of the month. Star was asking if I did Wednesday. I don't do every Wednesday night. I do every other Wednesday. So the first and the third Wednesday. Okay. So now I have scanned this, and here is my little, I don't know if you can see it. My mat's a little dark on here, but it's right here in the middle. Okay. I want to make sure I get on the right button. Okay. And there's 3 options. So if you're not sure what these little buttons mean, whoops, second here. I'm going to drop something on the floor. On page 76 of the manual for my 325, I print out the manual so I have these. It explains what each one of those buttons is. So the first button is outline detection, this one right here. So in other words, most of the time when we do applique, we use that one, right? We just want to go around the outside edge, and then we're going to tack it down to the fabric. The second one is called region detection. So if you have, we're going to use region detection here in a minute with some vinyl. And so if you have something that has more of a filled area, that's what you would use. And the third one is called line detection. And what that means is if you just have an outline, it will go trace right down the center of the line. And we're also going to do that one tonight. So we're going to do all 3 of these buttons, but it's on page 76 of my, it's right here, all these, I have them highlighted here, of my scan and cut. This is the SDX 325 manual. I would imagine the older ones, it's going to be in there as well and explain what those mean. Okay, so I got that out so I could show that to you. I like to have the manual printed out because I need it sometimes. Okay, so we're going to choose the first one. For this one, we want to just go around the outside edge. Then I'm going to crop down so that I just get my little star, and you're probably not seeing it too well because it's a little dark on the screen. I apologize. So we're going to crop right down with those little arrows right down to the, is that manual on the Brothers? Yes, it is, Cindy. So if you go, it's very hard to find anything on the Brother website. So if you Google the model number, like Brother SDX 325 manual, it should take you right to the page you need to go to. It'll come up in the Google search much easier than trying to find it on their website. Their website's very difficult to find things. So that's what I did. So like if you have a CM650W, say Brother CM650W manual, and then you should be able to find it and then download it and print it off. Okay, so there's our little star. I think everything looks good. Again, the same settings are here. So here's, if it's not quite detecting the line well, you might need to adjust the shade. Ignore objects. If you've got a bunch of gunk right here, you might be able to get rid of some of those. Now this one, the smoothing, I'm going to leave it alone because this is a very squared, it's very straight lines. So I'm just going to leave it as straight. I'm not going to make it more curved. Okay. So I'll hit OK. And then it's going to come up and ask me to save my design. So remember, we're not going to cut it out of this paper. We're going to save it and cut it out of something else. So I'm going to save it in my machine this time. You can save it to a USB stick also. So I'm going to save it in my machine. Okay. So now, I can't remember whose question it was. We're going to talk about cutting fabric. So we're going to cut our first fabric today. I'm going to unload my mat. And I have my fabric mat, okay? Now, just so you know, I didn't realize it because I found this out the hard way. There is actually a front and back of these plastic things. So if you have it on upside down, it's very hard to get it off. So I wrote up on the corner on the top of it so that I knew this was the up, because otherwise I couldn't get it off the mat. All right, so we're going to take this off, and I'm just going to load my mat in here. This is a fabric mat. So the SDX models will allow you to use a fabric mat because they're super duper sticky. If you have one of the older machines, you need to use either a standard or a low tack mat with a high tack adhesive sheet on it, which makes it super duper sticky. I also use that in this machine. So whichever one I happen to have, I do happen to have a fabric mat right now. So we're going to use that. Okay. So this is the fabric mat, super duper sticky. Now, when I cut fabric, I like to cut the fabric. This is just cotton fabric. I have on the back. Yes, I didn't know either, Cindy. That's something I didn't know, that there was an up and down to those. And if you get it turned upside down, it gets, especially on this mat. I don't notice it so much on the other ones, but this one is so sticky, it will not come off. I had a heck of a time getting it off. It's like, whoops. Okay, so this is a piece of cotton fabric that we're going to use for our little applique, and we've done this before. Okay, so here's our little applique. On the back of it is Heat and Bond Light. If you're going to sew through the fabric and make it an applique, it needs to be Heat and Bond Light. And let me show that to you. Here's the package, Heat and Bond Light. Okay, so that is adhered to the back of my fabric. Woo-oo. Yep, see, I got it stuck. I thought I laid it down careful enough, but I didn't. So we'll use the other one. I've got another one. Okay, put it face down. So this is Heat and Bond Light. So this is what's used if you need to sew through it. Okay. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is the Ultra Hold. Sorry. Get the right one. Heat and Bond Light. Here we go. This is the purple one. Okay. The manual was not too big. So if you need to print it off, maybe, I don't know, it was 125 pages or something. It wasn't terrible. So this is the Heat and Bond Light. So this is what you would sew through. So it's the purple package. Okay. If you are doing a permanent bond, which we're also going to cut tonight, you would use Heat and Bond Ultra, which is the red package. Okay. Steam-A-Seam does not work. I've tried a bunch of different bonding agents, and my favorite one by far is Heat and Bond. Reason being, it actually bonds into the fibers of the fabric and it stays on. A lot of the other ones do not do that. They stick, but they're not hard enough, and then they come off while you're trying to cut. So there are times when I do that, Margie, but in this case, no. I want to cut this with the face. I like to cut fabric face down because I think it cuts better. So I need my fabric mat, my piece of fabric with the Heat and Bond on the back. I'm leaving the paper on. Okay. Do not try, as I just did a little bit ago, don't put your Heat and Bond paper down on this sticky mat because you will not get it off. Okay. And I like to use the paper up. There are times when I take the paper off, use a standard mat, and stick the Heat and Bond down to a standard mat, and that will work. But it needs to be stuck on there really tight with the blade. You can also use a rotary blade, but we're not going to talk about the rotary blade tonight. Okay. So I'm going to take my fabric. I'm going to lay it face down on the mat. Just anywhere, can be anywhere. And my Heat and Bond paper is still on there. I'm going to get my little brayer. Go over there. Okay, so we already saved this in the machine. Yep, so you don't want to put this Heat and Bond paper down on this sticky mat because you'll never get it off. All right, so we're going to hit the house button because remember, we saved this in our machine. I'm going to hit Retrieve Data because that's how you get to the things, and it's in the machine. Okay. And here's my little, it's the last one in here, so here's my little star. Now this star is almost symmetrical, but not quite. So we're going to hit OK. And I'm going to edit this because since it's face down, I'm going to hit Edit, Object Edit, and I'm going to mirror. It's the two little arrows pointing at each other. I'm going to mirror it so that it flips it over. It's almost symmetrical, but not quite. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit OK one more time. And then we need to scan so we know where this piece of fabric is, right? So I'm going to hit Scan and Start. So it's going to scan my fabric here so it knows where it is. This is a very sticky mat. This is a new one. I just got it. So, all right. So now, if you can see up here, it's a little dark, and I do apologize. You can see the fabric right here. The design is down here. So I'm going to grab the design with my stylus, and I'm going to pull it up so that it's on my fabric, right on my fabric, like that. Okay. And then I'm going to click OK. So at this point, we need to change our blade. When I cut fabric, I do use a standard auto blade, the black, most of the time. If I'm cutting fabric with a heat and bond, a bonding agent of some sort, I cut with a regular blade. You can also use the rotary blade. It just takes too long for me, and I like instant gratification. Okay, so I'm going to use a black auto blade, the standard one. But as you can see, I took this one out that I'd been using, and I have one marked F for fabric, and I only use this to cut fabric. So I probably had this blade ever since I've had a DX model machine. It's probably 5, 6, 7 years old. Okay, I've never changed the blade in it, I don't think. Maybe once. But I only use this to cut fabric, just like I use scissors to cut fabric. I don't cut anything else with it. So I'm going to put that blade in. It is the same blade. I just use it for fabric. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. We got our little guy. We know he's in the right place. So let's go up here, and we're going to please select and cut. I don't need to test cut. I'm fairly certain this is going to cut it fine. Okay. I'm going to hit start, and we're going to let this cut. So for those of you who have the older machines, you probably need to put your blade on 4 or 5 and your pressure on 4 or 5. You may need to do a test cut. I test cut a lot more with the older machines. These I don't need to, because the auto blade's pretty good. I mean, it really truly is. Okay, so there's our little star. So let's see how we did. He's right on the fabric. Okay, so here's what's left, and here's our little star. And I cut I cut almost all fabric this way. And most of the fabric I cut, it does have heat and bond on it. You have to cut it differently if it doesn't. But I cut most of my fabric with heat and bond. So there's our little star. And we did that from this little picture I generated from my software for that placement line. So this is like the placement line for that little design. And I generated it, and we can scan it. So there he is. So that's one of the things you can do with scan to cut data. We're going to do a couple things with scan to cut data. Yeah, so. Okay. So what do you think of scan to cut data? That's the first button. That is the outline button. And we use the first one. All right, so let's get some of this off of here so I can move to the next thing. It is pretty easy. I mean, I do a lot of scanning, and I use the scan to cut data probably more than I use the direct cut, but it depends on what you're doing. Okay, so I'm going to take my fabric mat out, because we're going to go back to our scanning mat. So I'm going to load my scanning mat back in here, because we're going to scan again. Okay, and let's see. Let's do some vinyl. We're going to cut this little scan and cut logo. This is vinyl, so you could make this like a sticker to put on something, or use it like on a window or whatever. So we're going to make this little scan and cut logo. Okay, so I'm going to pull this off. So this is the one I cut out. Okay, and it's cut out of adhesive vinyl. This method would also be used basically for heat transfer vinyl, if you were using that. Okay, so here's my picture. So this one is more of a filled area, and we've done this before. Some of you have been making my scan and cut cover lately. I've noticed that a bunch of you are doing that. Here's my scan and cut cover, and this is a free design, and it's linked under the video on my YouTube channel. So this is how I made this. This is heat transfer vinyl, but we're going to do adhesive vinyl instead, but it's going to be the same kind of process. So this is how I made this. Okay. So I'm going to take my piece of paper and I'm going to put it in my scanning mat. Lift the little sheet, just stick it in my scanning mat here. Doesn't really matter where it's at. Okay. And then we're going to hit scan. So we get a little closer here. Hi, everybody. I've still got people coming in. Hello. And then we're going to hit scan to cut data because we want to cut it out of the vinyl. So here's the vinyl that we're going to cut it out of. Okay. So here's the vinyls. So we're going to cut it out of that. Let me look at my instructions to make sure I'm not missing a step. Okay. So now this one is technically color, as you can see. It's technically color, but there's only 2 colors. So it will scan fine if you leave it on black and white mode. So I am going to leave this one on black and white mode because it will scan fine. And I'm going to hit start twice and it let the scan. Yes, Diane, you made that for your first project, didn't you? Does the word sticker and the decal mean the same thing? Okay, so this is actually heat transfer vinyl. So it's a vinyl piece. It's not really a sticker. Stickers to me are like the ones that I did at the beginning. That to me is a sticker. This is a piece of vinyl that I might put on a window or something, or maybe like on my scan and cut case or something like that. Okay. All right. So we got this scanned. And here we are up here. I am going to this time, now remember, we said this is kind of a filled area, right? So the second button is the region. So we're going to use the region. So it's going to scan in and out. So we're going to go ahead and hit that. That's the second button. And I'm also going to see I've got a bunch of gunk here. So we're going to go ahead and crop that right up to the word to get rid of some of that extraneous noise there. Okay. That looks pretty good. Again, we can adjust the shade if we need to. And we can ignore if there's some stuff around there, we could ignore some of that. Now, normally when I do this, I don't use the smoothing either because I find that there's straight edges and curved edges and they seem to scan very well. So I am not going to change this smoothing mode. Okay, so we're going to just hit preview. This machine does an incredible job of scanning. All right, so I think I'm happy with that. It looks pretty good. And we're going to hit OK. And we're going to save it in our machine. So again, we're not going to cut out of this mat. We're going to cut on another mat with our vinyl. Okay. So let's go ahead and hit OK. We know it's number 8, just so you remind me. And OK to delete. Yep, we're done with that. And I'm going to eject my scanning mat. Let's see. I got to find my for my fabric mat and get that covered up because I'll surely have something stuck to that. All right, so we're going to bring back our standard mat. Okay, and I'm going to click load. And this time we're going to load our adhesive vinyl. So I'm using a standard mat. I am going to go back to my standard blade. I'm going to take my fabric blade out. We'll use that again here in a minute. Even though it's the same blade, I just like to cut fabric with it. So we'll take that out. Here's the standard blade. That's the black auto blade. Now, we are going to cut vinyl. So yes, you can use the vinyl auto blade. The reason I'm using this blade is A, it's here. I didn't have to get every blade I own out. And B, this is not a very intricate design. The difference between this standard auto blade, this is something I always try to explain to people. This standard auto blade is a 60-degree blade, which is generally used for deeper cutting items. The vinyl auto blade, the one with the light blue top, is a 45-degree blade, which is far better for detail. So if you have to do small pieces of vinyl, like little names and stuff like that, use that vinyl auto blade. It cuts way more detail than this one will. But this piece that I'm doing is not that detailed. It's pretty good size. and this blade will do just fine. So you can use either one, but I kind of go by what type of detail I'm looking at in my project. Okay, so we're going to put this on face up. So the pretty side is up for this type of vinyl. This is adhesive vinyl, so it's sticky. Okay, and I'm going to grab my brayer. Okay, make sure it's stuck down well. And then, a second here, I'm going to turn my page so I remember what I'm doing. I'm going to go find my design. And remember, we're going to retrieve it, and remember it was on the machine. So here's the machine. And it was number 8. So here it is right here. Now, I will tell you, if you have an older machine, I'm going to hit OK. If you have an older machine, does a different blade fit into same holder? No, it does not, Barbara. You do need to have the holes at the bottom of the blade holders are different. So you need to have the corresponding blade holder for that, for the blade you want to use. So the vinyl auto blade, the light blue top, has a 45-degree blade in it. This blade, the standard auto blade, the black top, this one has a 60-degree blade, and they are different. They will not interchange because the holes are different sizes. Okay. So we've got this on. Now I'm going to tell you that one thing I highlighted here is that I need to check this over for double scanning. If you have an older machine, you may find that you have some double scanning in here. I was pleasantly surprised when I did this because I've done this same design many times for classes. I always got double scanning in the N and in the A, down here in the A. And I did not get it with this machine. I was so surprised, but this machine scans really well. Okay, so if you do get double scanning, you can tell. So I'm going to hit edit, and we're going to check for double scanning. So like this little polka dot over here, you probably can't see it very well. I wish I could get just a little closer, but there's a little red dot on the inside of the A. And if I move that out and down, there's no little hole underneath of it. So it only scanned it one time. So I'm going to hit the undo button up here. If you move something by accident, hit undo, it'll go back. If I hit the select buttons, it'll go to the extra pieces of this. And I can just kind of go and look around to see if it does anything weird. And this one is very clean. It is not got a lot of junk. So I still like when I have this, you notice though that there's a little red box and it's moving around the screen. Okay. When it does that, that means that there's lots of pieces here. And if you accidentally move things, it won't line up. So I'm going to make this a group. So we're going to select all. So select all. So see all the little boxes? Hit OK, object edit, and then this little button here is group. So we're going to group it. So now there's just one red box around the whole thing. And I don't have to worry about losing a piece by accident. Okay. So I like to do that when I scan something that's kind of intricate like that, because it often scans it in little bits and chunks. Okay. So we'll hit OK. And then I'm going to hit OK one more time. And now I'm at that screen where I can scan, because I got to make sure that this is going to hit where I want where my piece of vinyl is. So we're going to scan and hit start. Second, I got to move something here. So again, we're still working with scan to cut data, because we made this data and then we're going to cut it out of something else. Right. Thank you, Maureen. I didn't think it would. It's because of the little bugs on the mat. It knows what mat's in there, so it won't let you cut on that scanning mat. So, all right. So here's our vinyl up here. We know where it is now. I'm going to grab my design and make sure that it's fairly centered in there. It looks pretty good. I think we'll be okay. Okay. Now, this is where this machine, I am so pleased I can use half cut and have it cut almost every time. I have had a couple of times it didn't, but for the most part, everything cuts really well. So I'm going to hit please select. I'm going to hit cut. And then to cut vinyl, we don't want to cut through the whole thing. We just want to cut through the vinyl on top. There's paper underneath, just like we did with the stickers. Okay, so that we're going to do, like they call it a kiss cut, that you're not cutting through the whole thing. You're just cutting through the top part. Okay. All right. So here's our cut. Now, half cut is off. Now, if you have one of the older machines, I often have cut vinyl like this with a standard blade that I did in the old machines that I had to set it myself. I don't have to do that with this machine. It cuts half cut very well. So we're going to turn it on. I'm going to go to the wrench. I'm going to go down a page and turn on my half cut and leave it on auto. I'm very pleased because this machine totally is different than my older machine. So it depends on what you're cutting, but I've found that this one is very different. Okay, so it's on. Half cut is on. I'm going to hit start and it's going to cut. I've got my standard blade in there. And it's going to cut our scan and cut logo out of the vinyl. Again, another way to use scan to cut data. A lot of different ways to use these different things. And I wanted to show you all three buttons. Where do I buy my vinyl? I like to buy my vinyl from a place online called specialty-graphics.com. And it is Oracle vinyl. I have Oracle and FDC vinyl. They used to carry FDC and now they carry Oracle. So that's what I usually use. And it works really well. They're in Chicago, like around Chicago. Yes, you can pause the press. You can hit the press the pause button. Yes. Somebody had said you could always press the pause button. Yes, you can. Cindy, I could have put the weeding box on, and that is in the settings. I could have put a weeding box around this, but I didn't make the way I use weeding boxes when my vinyl is exceptionally large, and it makes it easier to weed if I don't have such a big piece of vinyl. So that's when I use a weeding box. This is not very big. I cut it so it's about the right size. All right. So now we're going to pull this out, and I'm going to weed this. So I'm going to unload, and when I take this off the mat, you want this definitely to be pulled off. You want the mat to be pulled, not the paper, because it will shift your vinyl. Okay. So I'm going to pull the mat away from it. Okay. And here's our vinyl. So I have my weeding tool, and I don't know if you'll be able to see me very well, but if I push this down, I think you can see it. And I'm going to weed this. And we're going to take away all the pieces we don't want. So we don't need this great big piece around the outside edge. So I like to pull it and the sticky parts up right now. And I like to keep the sticky part away from my design. So I kind of roll it so that the sticky part stays up. Here's a little spot here I need to use my weeding tool for. So I'm just going to pull this out. And again, in the C, pull this out. Work our way. Here's another part in the end. Again, the sticky part's up. Then I can keep track of it and it doesn't get stuck to things I don't want it to get stuck to. Okay. There's a little piece on the other side of the end here. There we go. I'm going to go this way. Trying to keep all the sticky up. And sometimes I work from both sides. It just depends on how big my item is. This isn't real big, so I'm having a little trouble. There we go. Okay. Keep the sticky up. Watch the sticky part. Here we go. And then I need to go back and get these pieces in the middle. So like this little piece for the A. There's that little piece in the A. Okay. Get that out of there. And then, of course, you know, the N in the middle. There we go. And there's scan and cut. And it cut beautifully. So I have taught a lot of vinyl classes, and I still like to use my standard blade. But with this machine, I'm finding I don't need to use it as much because this one does a very fine job cutting half cut. I've been very, very pleased. So, you know, this is a new machine to me. I haven't had it very long, so I'm really enjoying learning what it does. So there's my scan and cut. So what do you think? Isn't that cool? I did a yellow one too. It's over here somewhere. But this is a fun little project to do, is to take a logo, scan it, and cut it out of vinyl or cut it out of fabric or whatever. So with scan to cut data. All right. So now that was the second button. So now we're going to do the third button. The third button is line detection. And I use this quite a bit because I like these pictures. I'm going to show you something here. Hopefully you can see it. I really like these pictures. I do these. These are applique pictures. Let me see if I can bring this out so you can see it. These are applique pictures that are permanent bond. So they have heat and bond on it, but they have heat and bond ultra on it. And I just bond them down and then I frame them. Aren't those cool? And this is called Sunset Pine. And this is from a gal named, it's Fabrications by Doris. And she's from Dyersville, Iowa. She does these kits, but I'm not sure that her website's there anymore. Maybe she's retired. But isn't that cool? And I just love these. So this is hanging normally above my bed. But I'm going to cut this tree out because I want to show you how intricate this tree is. And we're going to cut it out and it's going to look beautiful. Okay, so I cut these out of fabric. Let me go back over here so you won't get that glare. Okay, so we'll hit the home button. Let me grab my sample here. I have a funny thing that everybody can laugh at the end. Okay, so we're going to cut out this tree. So here's this tree. Isn't this cool? Look at this tree. This is cut out of fabric with Heat and Bond Ultra because I would use this as a permanent bond item. So there's my tree. Okay, so I'll lay this over here. And I cut it out of paper too, so you could see that it would cut out of paper. Okay. And then here's my fabric. So this fabric is done, since it's permanent bond, it's done with Heat and Bond Ultra Hold. Okay, so this I'm not going to sew through. No sew. You don't want to sew through this because your machine won't like it. You can sew through the light, but not the Ultra Bond. So we're going to use one of these pieces of fabric for this one. And I'm going to have, and here's my drawing. So when Doris did these, they're all hand drawn. So I always had a little trouble cutting stuff like this because it wanted to scan like both sides of the lines, because sometimes there'd be like a break in the line because she hand drew everything. So I found that third button. I never really realized what the third button does, but what it does is it traces right down the middle of the line. So that third button has opened my world up when it comes to doing these, because I love these things. Okay, so let me get my scanning mat. We're going to load our scanning mat. I know it is amazing how this will cut out. This truly is amazing to watch this one cut. All right, so let me load my scanning mat. This is why I always use a scanning mat with patterns, because I bought one of these from her, and the first thing I did was dropped it on my super duper sticky mat, and I had to buy a whole new pattern from her because I ruined one of the pieces, and it was from Doris. But Fabrications by Doris is what it's called. All right. We're going to go back up to scan. Sorry, we don't need to retrieve yet. We need to scan first. So we're going to do scan to cut data. Oops, sorry. I didn't touch it hard enough. This is also black and white, so I'm going to leave the black and white on, okay? Black and white mode. So we're going to hit start and start again. And it's going to scan my tree. And again, this is done, my fabric, when we get it up here, is done with Heat and Bond Ultra. So it's going to be a permanent bond. This is a really fun, this was a fun project for me because I haven't done all of these together for a long time, and it was really fun for me to do this. Okay, so here's our tree. Get a little closer. Here's our tree. Okay, and we're going to use the last button, which is it's the line detection. So it's going to trace the outline of this tree. And I'm going to now this one we might need to do a little bit of cleanup because there's a couple little things that want to get on the design on the edges. So we may have to clean up just a couple little things on this one. I think I cut off the top. Oops. But there's a couple little lines that we might have to fix. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay. So there's our tree. And I got it cropped pretty much right around the tree. I think everything, it looks like scanned really well because I can see the black lines all the way around it. When you do this yourself, you'll be able to see. Ignore object. I think we're okay. I can fix anything I need, and I'm not going to change the smoothing on this one. Okay. So I'm going to hit preview. Take a look at it. Looks pretty good. We might have to fix a couple little pieces down here, and then I'm going to hit OK. This was just barely big enough for a piece of paper, 8.5 by 11 paper. So my paper was almost too small. So now I'm going to save it in my machine. Okay. Turn my page so we don't forget anything. And okay. So let's go ahead, go back, because we saved it. And it's in our, we're going to retrieve the data from the machine, and it's going to be the last thing. So it's number 9. So you can see there's a couple, I don't know if you can see the little line here. There's a couple of pieces we'll have to fix, but we can fix that. No problem. I'm going to unload my scanning mat. We're going to get back our sticky fabric mat. Yes, Chris, do you do DTF, or Cindy does? I've never done DTF. A lot of people are doing DTF now. So direct to film is what DTF means. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this machine is different from which older one of yours. I had a 230D, which was the previous set of machines, and this is a 325. So this is a 300 series machine. Everything's basically the same, but I'm finding some improvements with this. I'm very pleased with some of the things that work better now than they did on my old machine. So I'm going to go ahead and put this fabric, and again, I like to cut my fabric. We're on the fabric mat, Heat and Bond Ultra on the back. I left the paper on, and we're going to go ahead and put this down on the mat with the brayer. Okay, should be okay. Direct to DTV or DT, because direct to vinyl, DTF. Yeah. Because I know a lot of people are doing that now. No, there's no Disney on this one, Susan. This one, I have Disney stuff because I bought Disney cards. So I have Disney that I can still use on it. I just switched it from my old machine to my new one. Okay, now this one has a couple little things we're going to have to fix, I noticed. So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to hit Edit. Now, as I go through these little pieces, you can probably see these little red things showing up. I'm going to hit the select button until I get to something that I don't want, because there's something hanging out over here on the left. We don't want that. So I'm going to hit, I got that one of those selected. I'm going to hit trash. It's very small. Here's another line right here. I don't want that because it's like the edge of the paper. I'm going to hit trash. Here's another piece right here. I'm going to hit trash. And then there's a little piece over here down at the bottom I don't want. And trash. Okay, so now I've got the whole thing. That's the big piece of the tree. And there were some other smaller pieces in here too. Those I think we all want. So I'm just going to look. I'll just keep hitting select until I get to everything. I think I'm okay. Yeah, I think I'm okay. So I'm going to go back in here to select. And I'm going to select all. And I'm going to click OK. And whoops, sorry, select all. Hit OK. And then go back to Object Edit and Group. So that way this whole tree is in one piece, so I don't have to worry about losing anything. Okay. So now the one thing we're doing, remember my fabric is face down. So we also need to mirror this. So I'm going to hit the mirror button. Now, I'm trying to remember. She might have already mirrored them. So like when you do applique material or applique designs from quilters, they often mirror them in the book. And as I remember, let me look at my sample here. I think she mirrored this in the book. Let me look. Nope, she must not have, because it's gonna cut the way I want it here. So okay, so I do have it mirrored, but check your instructions. I do put the fabric down most of the time, Susan. Yes, because I think it cuts better because it cuts through the heat and bond first, and then the fabric, and I don't get the little fingers of fabric around the outside edge. Okay, so check your pattern because you may not need to mirror it. It may be already mirrored. So depending on your pattern, this one is not. So I do have to mirror it. So I'm going to hit OK. So I've noticed that with like quilt books, some quilt pattern makers mirror their images in their book and some don't. So just pay attention to the instructions when you're doing it. So, all right, so we're going to do this. Okay, so I got it all selected together. It's all grouped. And I'm going to go ahead and scan so we know where to put our design and hit start. Get this out of the way. This was a very fun project though for me because I haven't done all of these together, and it was fun to come up with a little sample so you could see how it worked. And okay. So here is our tree. And it looks like it's almost on the fabric. I'm just going to move it over a little bit. That looks pretty good. So I think it'll cut nicely on our fabric now. And I'm going to click OK. We've already got it mirrored. It's all adhered down to our fabric mat. The last thing I need to do, again, I'm going to put in my fabric blade. It is a black auto blade, but this is the one that says fabric. So I like to just cut fabric with this, and that's the only thing I cut with that blade. And we'll put that one in. Okay. All right, so we're going to hit please select and cut. Wasn't that amazing how well that, I mean, it's amazing. When you see this, you'll be amazed at how intricate it is. Because the first time I cut out one of these trees with my scan and cut, Doris used to do a lot of shows around here, and she was just fascinated by the scan and cut because I showed her that I did a lot of these with the scan and cut, and she was amazed that I could get them to cut that well because she had a scan and cut that she never had as good a luck with, and I've cut almost all of her stuff with the scan and cut. Lucy, there is a fabric blade. It is a tan blade. It is only for fabric that does not have a bonding agent on it. So it will not work with this because it's only a 35-degree blade. It's very shallow. It's not steep enough. So it will not cut through this. So you only want to use that if you're using fabric with no bonding agent, like maybe with Terial Magic on it instead, which is a very stiff starch. So we don't want half cut though. We're going to turn off that half cut. I'm going to go down to the next page, turn off that half cut because we want it to cut all the way through. So the only time I use that tan blade, that tan fabric blade, is when I cut something with Terial Magic and it's really, really stiff. Like if I want to make like a quilt block out of it or something. That's the only time I use it. I hardly ever use it because almost all my fabric cutting is for applique. All right, so there's our tree. I'm going to hit start and watch this thing cut. It is so cool. All right, hopefully you can see it. In a few minutes, you get to laugh at me because the last little project is going to be scanning it to a USB stick and it'll become a JPEG. So you'll all laugh at me. So it only takes about 2 or 3 minutes to cut this all out, but it is very intricate. And I was so surprised when I did this for the first time how well it cut out. I mean, it's just pristine. Because I've cut this out quite a few times. I've got a great big huge one of these designs of hers. It's got Mustang horses on it and it's like 3 feet long and it has all these great big appliques. I can't wait I've got them all traced and ready to go. I can't wait to cut those out and put them on. It's gonna be so cool. So it's cutting. Roseanne, normally not, unless it's an applique. Roseanne asked if I use heat and bond with felt, and I normally don't unless it's an applique. So if it is an applique, yes, I use heat and bond on it. If I don't, if it's not for applique, I use the rotary blade with felt. It's very hard to cut felt with the regular blade. The rotary blade, I probably would still use the rotary blade with it, even with the heat and bond on it, because felt is a totally different creature to cut. Okay, so now it's cutting the little pieces inside. But I just thought you'd like to see some of these things cut and how they work. Do I ever need to cut my edges down? I tape my edges down, Maureen, very rarely, because I keep my mats very sticky and clean. So like when I get done with this tonight, I'll clean this mat off with a baby wipe and get it real clean. Fabric is very messy to cut. All right, so let's see how we did here. Gonna pull this up. Look at all these little pieces here. This is the coolest. I love this sample. I always love to cut this tree out for people. Okay, so there is the big piece. Okay. And then to get this off, I'm going to use my little spatula and kind of get down underneath of it. And just slowly. And your paper, your heat and bond paper may come off. You just kind of have to work it up. It's a little sticky, you know. Just kind of put your little spatula under there and work it up. Try not to like stretch it. Okay, work under here. Isn't that fabric cool? This was some fabric I used in a quilt, I think. Okay, so there's our tree. And I try to leave the fabric, the paper on the back if I can, because then it keeps it from sticking to things. But isn't that beautiful? Look at how intricate that is. Look at all the little branches. Isn't that amazing? So that is scan to cut data using the line detection. So basically what it did, if you have like a coloring book and you want to cut something out, you can just trace the line. This is what I use this for, is like appliques that I'm doing these with. And oh my gosh, it was just, the first time I cut one of these out, I was just like awestruck. Because it's so intricate. And can you imagine, Doris cuts these with scissors. She draws them on heat and bond and turns them over and cuts them with scissors, a pair of scissors, and cuts those all out by hand. And she was just fascinated that I was doing these with the scan and cut. I thought that was so cool. But isn't that awesome? So that is the tree. Okay, so scan to cut data. We did all three of the little things, you know, all three of the little buttons. Region, line, and applique, you know, outline. Just to get this off of here. Now I got to find my paper again. Just a second. I got to find my cover so I make sure it says up so I don't get it stuck on here. All right, there we go. Get that covered up because I stick things to that all the time. Okay, so now there's one more scanning. There's actually two more scanning features, but we're only going to do one more tonight. Okay, so you're going to all laugh. But like I said, this scan and cut can be a large format scanner. So like this is 12 inches wide, and you can, on all the dealer models, all the way back to the old one, the 550, you can scan on a 24-inch scanning mat. Some of the mass market machines, like the 125s, and some of those do not scan 24 inches. They only scan 12. Our machine will scan 24 inches. So if you have a large pattern you need to scan, like to do like one of these appliques or something, you can put it on that great big long mat and scan the whole thing. It is so cool. Okay. But I thought you'd get a kick out of just seeing how that works. So I just did a small picture. So I'm going to put my scanning mat back in. This is my scanning mat. And this is where everybody gets to laugh. I'm going to scan it. Let's say I have some family pictures that I would like to scan and keep as a digital image, a JPEG image. Okay. I have some old pictures that, you know, are family pictures. And I'm going to show you this picture. Can you guess who that is? And I've done this as an embroidery design too. I did a lot of these pictures for my mother because she remembered them. So this is me. I am 3 in this picture. So I'm going to put this in my scanning mat. And the scanning mat also will not stick. There's no sticky. So like for these old pictures, you don't want to stick them to anything because they may not come off or they may tear, right? So we're going to scan this to USB. So I can put my USB over here in my machine. So you'll have to give me a second. I'm going to have to reach over here. Maybe. Okay. Got the USB over there, and it's going to scan it as a JPEG, just like any other scanner would scan it as a JPEG. Okay. Then you can save these on a USB or whatever. Okay. So I'm going to hit scan. Scan to USB. And this is going to give me some options. It's 12 by 12. The resolution is 600. You can change the resolution by hitting the wrench, and it can be up to 600 and down to 200. 600 is usually very good, so we'll leave it at 600. And then I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click Start, and it's just going to scan this in. And if you, oops, I got to hit Start twice, sorry. But if you have a lot of pictures and stuff, or if you have large, I use it for large applique pieces. And it's so awesome because I can scan on that 24-inch. I have a 24-inch scanning mat that I use. So I can use that. And I really like it. And then it's so nice. Let's say you have a 12 by 16 photograph that was up on your wall that you wanted to scan. You could put it in that great big scanning mat and do this. Okay. If the pattern is already mirrored in the book, Anna Marie, you do not need to mirror it in, even though your fabric is down, it's already mirrored. So just read your instructions in your book. It'll tell you if it's been mirrored in the book or not. Okay, so here's my picture, and it says save to USB media, and it says the name is a JPEG. So it's now a picture file on my USB over here. I can put it over on my machine, and I can put it over on my computer, and then I have this picture saved. Okay. So that's the third button over here. So we did direct cut, scan to cut data, and scan to USB. There's one more scanning feature. I did use this. If you haven't seen the video that I made, the engraved bracelets, this transfer to work Canvas workspace, you can scan something directly here, like maybe one of those applique files, and then it will go directly to your software. And then you can pull it in from your software into your software to do like editing or anything. So that's what that last one is. And I did that in the engraving. I used it for the engraving. Actually, I just used a picture and I used it for engraving the bracelets. So I'd use this function in there. So that's the fourth one. Okay. Yes, the fabric mat only comes in the 12-inch for the SDXs. But what I've done if I've had to cut something big is I take my big standard mat and I put 2 of those high-tack adhesive sheets on it and make it 24 inches. And I've had to do that because I've had to cut some big stuff. And that works just fine. I actually part of the time still use a regular mat with that, you know, with that scanned it or with the high-tack adhesive sheet because it works fine. So, all right. So there's the last scanning function. That's scan to USB. All right. So what did you think of the scanning? Wasn't that cool? I thought this was a fun lesson for me to do for you. I really enjoyed it. And I did a lot of, you know, little fiddling around and playing with stuff. And I just really enjoyed it because I got to try a lot of stuff out on my machine, my new machine, because I haven't used it that much yet. So it's been fun. Okay. Now I'm going to show you something. Else. Got to sit down and turn the camera onto me. Just a minute. We change the microphone. And the camera. Okay. All right. So I have to get it turned a little bit so you don't see the fan going there. Okay. And so you may need to watch this a couple times because there was a lot of information there. And I just thought you would enjoy seeing all the different things you could do. When you do the fabric cutting lesson we discussed earlier. Which hack was that, Cindy? Oh, you mean like scanning like a larger picture in a fabric and cutting it out as an applique? Is that what you're talking about, Cindy Ball? Okay, so we need to have a drawing, but I want to show you what the next class is going to be. So as many of you know, I make cards also. And I wanted to do something that showed you how I make cards, but we're also sewers, right? So I decided to make some embroidered cards. Now, these are not quite done yet. I'm getting almost done. Oh, the 24-inch. Yes, I can show you that. Yep, I can show you that. The 24-inch mat with a fabric cut. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do something big on the fabric mat sometime. Yep. So we're going to make cards in September. So the first class will be a card making. It's embroidered cards. And then I can show you some of my like how I make cards otherwise too. So here's some of the cards we're going to make. So I have a Hello Friend card. I have a Thinking of You card. These are all small cards, so they're like A2. And so they will easily mail. They're not too big. Okay. I have Happy Holidays. And I have Happy Birthday. So these are embroidered cards. So I've been wanting to do this for a while because my friend Lynn did a class some time ago on embroidered cards, and they were much larger. And we wanted to do some that were small enough that they could be easily mailed. So these are small enough. These are a standard A2, which is like a quarter of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So this is what I've been working on the last week or so, 10 days. I've been working on these. And so that will be the first class in September. So I will post this in the group and on Facebook or on YouTube
as soon as I get them quite finished. I'm not quite done with the instructions yet. So, okay. What time do you come on first time? Oh, Margot, I come on at 7 o'clock Central Standard or Central Daylight Time. So 7 o'clock. Okay. So anyway, so we're going to make some cards and then I'll show you how to do the insides too. So I haven't gotten anything inside mine yet. I'll show you how I do the insides, but this is just the outside. And if you notice, there's no stitches showing. Look, there's no stitches showing. So that was something I really wanted. I didn't want any stitches showing. I love embroidered cards, but I don't like the stitches showing. So, okay. So now, has everybody been making their comments to get to win? So whoever wins the little USB pouch, okay, you need to send me your, you need to email me your mailing address. So let me put up my email so you know where to send it. So this is my email. And you need to email me at janshieldssewing@gmail.com, or you can message me through Facebook too, through Facebook Messenger. Okay. So that is where you need to send me your address so you can, when you win the USB. So let's see who's going to win. Is everybody ready? Get my giveaway tool. I'm going to hit the draw button. Here we go. Let's see who wins tonight. Trying to find a piece of paper and a pencil. There we go. Ooh, Susan Heffley. Susan Heffley, you are the winner of the little USB pouch tonight. So Susan Heffley, if you can send me your mailing address to the email that's up here on the screen, janshieldssewing@gmail.com, or you can message me through Facebook on the Facebook group. So you are the winner of the little USB pouch. That's awesome. Okay. So the next class will be the cards. I've been very excited about working with the cards. So I have been wanting to do this for a long time and I just haven't gotten around to it. So so we'll do that on the 3rd of September. So on my dad's birthday. Susan, you won again. Yeah, you won a while ago, didn't you? You won again. Woohoo. You know, I just hit this little button up here and it just randomly picks somebody. So I don't have any control over it. So Susan, just send me your email or your mailing address and I will get it mailed out to you. So on the 3rd of September, then I decide that. I think I decided it was the 3rd of September, my dad's birthday, that we will have our next class and we will make some cards. And then I have another really fun project for September that will be, what machine will you be using for the cards? I will probably be using my, oh, that's right. You won the explosion box, didn't you? Yeah, I mailed you the little explosion box. That's awesome. I will probably be using my Luminaire because that's the machine I have at home. My Avenir is at the store right now. So I have it there so I can show it to people. I don't have an Avenir. I have a Radiance at our store right now. So I have my Avenir there too. So I will probably do that. But I think it's the 3rd of September. Let me just check the date to make sure. September 3rd. Yes. So that's the first Wednesday of the month. So that's my dad's birthday. My dad would have been 98 years old on the 3rd of September. So, okay. So we will see you on the 3rd of September to make some cards. I'm really excited about this little project. And we will then at the end of the second one will be something, a kind of a surprise. It's going to be a blast from the past surprise. So, okay. So it'll be something different. I think you'll all enjoy it. It's just something silly and I wanted to do something for fun. So, okay. So everybody have a great couple of weeks and I will see you on the 3rd of September. Have a good Labor Day. Yeah, because Labor Day is in there. Have a good Labor Day and I'll see you on the 3rd of September and we'll make some cards. Thanks, everybody. Good night.